What's good? I wanted to make this video in response to the fellas over there at Reality Benders podcast. So I've been listening to that pretty much all day, and I wish I could remember all the topics covered. And I'm not done, but I'm listening to the part about the keto diet, and I'll try to remember some of the things y'all talked about. Thing with me is, well, I'm gonna start with the keto diet. There's been a few times in my life where I was able to implement I didn't call it the keto diet. At first I called it the Atkins diet. Then I called it the low carb diet. And I wasn't really concerned about, actually my body going into ketosis when I was doing it. But at first I was, years ago when I first learned about it, I was trying to get my body into ketosis, but it never quite, I never achieved it. I had the ketosis strips and everything to test my body to see if, I still even got those too, I think. And that was like over 20 years ago. And hope you can bear with me through the scrubbing and stuff. But anyways, so yeah, 20 years ago is when I first heard about the Atkins diet. And with the Atkins diet, they had it was my first introduction to low carb, and and then they had all these products that you could buy that was Atkins based, and zero sugar ice cream, zero sugar, like it was huge back then. And that was around 2004, 2005, and so that was when I first learned about it. So that would make it, I guess, 20 something years ago. Anyways, so what I was able to do it then because I wasn't working consistently, and I used my dad's money to buy. My dad was dying, and I used his money to buy the groceries. Like I did the grocery shopping and for everybody, and so back then there was enough money to do it. Just eating meat and cheese and butter and stuff was pretty expensive. And so if it had not been for my dad having the income from his VA checks and stuff, then wouldn't have been able to do it. And I think I also worked. I know I also worked during that time. It was kind of a hard situation. But I'm pretty sure I used some of my money too. But I did that, and I did it for like at one point I did it for a brief time. Then I did it for some years later when I moved in with my mom into the apartment. I had more free time to, like when I was working full time, I was always trying to, it's hard to explain. When I was working for other people, it's almost like I had to find remedies to ease my psychological state, because it's not that I was just bored out of my mind working for other people. In my opinion, it drove me like mental. Like it drove me just constantly getting up and doing, especially because it wasn't leading anywhere. It wasn't leading me anywhere. It was just a routine, and I made just enough money to get by. But like I also sought out like ways to cope, ways to mentally cope, knowing that I'm just in legal battles and none of my work is just doing anything for me at all. Like You know, it just wasn't working. And I could see the math that it was leading me nowhere, right? So I had to look for ways to cope. And even though meat was a little bit higher, meat and stuff was a little bit more high than cheap, you know, higher price to eat that way. It's like I had to do something to cope, like to create some kind of mental sharpness. And for 3 months straight, I did very low carb, nearly no carbs. One stint was about 3 months, and during that time, I felt my focus was so clear without all that sugar. Like my mental focus was great, and it really helped me to cope through, you know, through everything, you know, because, you know, I didn't have anything else, you know, to help. Like I was looking up healthy ways of eating and keeping my body fat down, and I just wanted to be mentally sharp to cope with just life all around. You know what I mean? Just life all around. And so having that mental clarity and that sharpness was just, it was great. And also I want to say that, like, your body will be craving certain things. So when you're in the process of trying to determine what you can and can't eat, it kind of pushes you into creativity. Your body's still going to want to crave. For me anyway, my body and mind was craving, obviously, things that alleviate stress. And what do we have easily available for coping? Carbs, right? Carbs, sugar, carbs, right? And so, but by putting a restriction and a limit on yourself, it forced you to have to look for remedies and be creative about it. Like if I had a sweets craving, which I do, I love sweets, chocolate craving, it's like I'm gonna get some stevia and cocoa powder, I meant to say. I don't know if that's the same thing, but anyways, stevia, cocoa powder. Then I'm gonna get some heavy whipping cream, and I'm gonna make like a sugar-free, carb-free mousse type of snack or something. Or I also learned how to make like very low carb cheesecake. You know, you make it without the crust and you use stevia instead of sugar. And so I enjoyed it because it really puts, you know, you put yourself in that state of focus, and, you know, and that being in that state of focus really helps you to, I mean, and I was burning fat, and that made me feel good, but it was just too much. Like eventually, I don't remember why I broke that trend that I was on for it was like literally 90 days of virtually no carbs. But I don't even think I went into ketosis, because here's why. I don't think I went into ketosis because I wasn't too strict about it. In other words, like I said, if I ate that cheesecake, I knew that it was going above the carbs. Like, there's a certain amount of carbs that you can have, and if you go too many carbs, then your body won't go into ketosis. And one of the reasons why I was not worried about that was because I knew that I was working all the time, and all the exercise I did was, all that exercise, I knew it was like going to burn off all that fat anyway. And so yeah, then the second time I did it was when I was working at that paint warehouse. And I think I did a few months there as well. And that's the apartment where I moved in with that guy and rented a room from him because it was the only place I could go. And he charged me $200 a month. So it wasn't a bad deal. And so because my bad, hold on. So he charged me $200 a month. And but anyways, when I went to go live there, I immediately noticed that he had them roaches. And so I got rid of all the roaches in the house. Like, I thoroughly cleaned every corner and crevice of that house because I was not going to live with roaches. And so I chose to do that instead of be on the street. But that meant I had to spend all that time get rid of the roaches and, you know, thoroughly cleaning the whole house and fumigating it and everything. And that's when, after the roaches, he got bed bugs. So the entire 3 months I stayed there, it was nothing but me, because this took weeks. It literally took months to get that place livable. And so yeah, it literally took months. And so anyways, while I was there though, I had to eat, right? And and let me tell you, it sucks eating and preparing food in a place you know has roaches in it, because you don't just get rid of them overnight, right? It's a process. And so that means that while you're making your food, you know that all around you is a roach infestation, and it sucks. It's one of the shittiest experiences I've ever had. And so when you're doing it, like, I gotta have like some spray and some sanitizer, some kind of spray that sanitizes each, like, even if there's a clean drawer, like say that you pull out the drawer with the forks in it and the spoons and all the silverware, and you know that it's clean, I can't just pull a fork out of the tray and start using it, or any kind of utensil. It's like I have to wash it right then. Even though it's clean in that drawer and stuff, I still have to wash it and sanitize it, because even though it's clean, because there's a roach infestation, that means roaches are still walking through it at night, you know. And so you gotta like double, sometimes triple wash everything that you're using while you're using it, because in my head, nothing is clean, right? Nothing, right? But anyways, that's off topic. But I did keto over there, and I made this, like, I made that cheesecake over there, and you know, and I just, like, I'll eat a couple hamburger patties with cheese on top. I'll get hot dogs, but even then, you got to look on the packages, because some of those hot dogs and stuff, and that meat, especially hot dogs, still has carbs in it. And it has sugar in it. A lot of those sausages, I mean, I know you probably, like, I don't know if Rudy's done keto, but I know, Kurt, you have, so I'm pretty sure that you probably already know that. With the hot dogs and stuff, like the sausages especially, they got sugar for taste and flavor. So it's like you're highly limited. I mean, if you had a lot of money to work with, you can get really creative with the meals and make them tasty and stuff. At one point, there was a company called Bread Zero or something like that, and it was made, and it was just like loaf bread. I never got the chance to buy any, but I think it was called Carb Zero bread, and it came in loaves just like regular bread, except it was 0 carbs, and it was made out of egg whites. And so I never got a chance to try that, but like you could get some sugar-free. You know, I'm pretty sure somebody has to sell that again, some company. I would want to do keto again. I done got fat, like, because of how I live now, and I never thought about it really. I never thought about it really, but I just eat like the cheap foods that I can get, and there's food boxes out here where people give away food for free, and sometimes I'll stop by them boxes to grab a couple things for my groceries, and you know, and at times people be giving away pasta and stuff, and I take it, you know. So that means, you know, I'll make pasta type dishes and stuff, and then, you know, like food for me growing up was a Coke. And I'm still in that habit from childhood, because in the environment I grew up in, it was like you got to find anything to soothe, and the best coat was sugar and sweets, you know, and food and sugar and sweets, you know, right? So that was the best coat back then, given the circumstances. And but I would also, you know, I'd like to do it again. I would also get some branched chain amino acids, because when you're in ketosis like that and you don't have the carbs, you can lose muscle density. And so I was constantly drinking, you know, branched chain amino acid drinks, like, you know, the powder to prevent muscle loss. And I drank black coffee, and what else? I'm trying to think. But yeah, I would definitely wish I could do that again. Then in 2013, I was introduced to intermittent fasting, where you eat in an 8-hour window. And for like a decade, up until a couple years ago, I was doing IF, intermittent fasting, and my eat window was between 1 and 9 p.m. 1 p.m. and 9 p.m. And but kind of broken that, because just got out of the habit for the most part. That's all I can tell you. Like, I just got out of the habit of it because of the circumstance, and it's harder for me to and I was going to say a moment ago, I haven't thought about it too deeply, but like, well, yeah, see, I run out of money too much to even think about doing keto, to be real, you know. But I have kind of thought about it, like maybe I could figure out a way to eat keto and make it affordable, you know, instead of eating a bunch of carbs like I do now. Maybe I can figure out a way to do keto again. But the best way for me to do keto was when I had the structure and the routine of a schedule by working for somebody else. Like at the warehouse, it's 8 to 5, so it's a predictable schedule for the most part. And you know, and that I can come home, I can make the food. You know, I know what time I'm gonna be home every day. And then, you know, I already know what I'm going to get paid every week. So it was kind of easier to do that, and it was more like a cope on my part to by doing so, like it was just a technique I used to get my brain more focused since I was miserable. I just want to express, when I was working for other people, it wasn't just that I didn't like it and I was trapped. Oh man, it sucks, I can't get out. It was just miserable. I was miserable, especially knowing that I got all those legal issues and that the job itself was never, I knew it wasn't leading me anywhere. And I also knew, just like today, that there aren't any jobs working for somebody else at a warehouse or somewhere. There's nothing out there that will hire me to get me financially stable, period. And the only thing, like I recently was saying, is just I gotta wait. And but I would definitely do keto all over again if I could, because I like the discipline of it, and I like the fact that I'm burning fat, and and I'm not, like, I can also do keto throughout the week and then break it on the weekend, for something more, appealing to the taste buds with carbs and sugar in it, and still be able to lose weight. I don't know what your intent, Kirk, with doing keto is, but yeah, I was just listening to what you were saying and about keto and stuff. I just wanted to talk about it, and but I think it would be easier if I had, was working to do keto right now would be easier if I was working for somebody else with a routine schedule. It would help me organize a keto diet better, because I would, like, the way I make money now, like I said, I don't have like a set weekly amount that I know that I'm going to get every week. I don't got a predetermined amount, so it's just, I base my eating habits and rituals based off of constant randomness, constant never knowing, what I'm going to be able to eat. And like right now, the past week, we've been out of food, and just like tonight, I'm now technically, like, I got a can of beef and tomato macaroni in a can over here. Technically, we could have that, and I've got pancake mix. I've got a stuffing box. I got some cans of soup, so we're not like destitute, like, begging and stuff, but but those things I keep on reserve and backup. So whenever we get hit really hard spots, like, at times when it's like, son, this is the only thing you can have for lunch, I got that backed up. I got the backup supply. And just a couple weeks ago, I pulled out one of the cans of soup, and I only had literally like maybe 2 or 3 left, but and I got some tomato sauce and some corn, it looks like. I have a few condiments to go, or not condiments, but a few items that pair with meals, mostly canned and boxed. But I got about 6 eggs. I got a few things, but it's always unpredictable what I'm going to have and when I'm going to have it. So I try to keep these on reserve, for those days, like when I had the soup a couple weeks ago, because we were running so low that soup is what I had to turn to. And then, but so several times, including tonight, my mother will say, hey, I got, I will call her and say, hey, what do you got over there? And she'll say, I have some hamburger meat. Like tonight, she says she's got some hamburger meat, and there's some leftover Alfredo that my sister made the other night. And my mother is oftentimes throwing away food, and there's times where I have to say, why did you throw that away? I'll tell her like, don't throw it away. Let me know, you know. And then like last week, she made she cooked some hamburger meat because she thought it would go bad. And then a couple days later, I was like, well, let me come over there. I'm gonna use that meat and I'm gonna use that and another tube of meat and make a big thing of spaghetti. And then when I got there, I was like, where's that meat? She's like, oh, I threw it away. I was like, Mother, don't throw it away. You know, let me know, you know. But she's not doing it out of spite or anything. It's just like in her head, it's like, oh, it's too bad. It's not good. And like, it's like, no, like, I'll eat it. I'll eat a food. I'll eat something after 7 days. Like, well, not after 7 days, up to 7 days, right? I'll eat something up to 7 days, and, you know, at times. Depending on what it is, you know, but tonight after I'm done doing this, I'm about to go over there down the street and see what she's got, and then I'll end up making dinner. And you know, I don't have to cut into my supplies over here, and so I'm gonna end up going over there. And so it's unpredictable, and then see, because it is that way, I have, in my opinion, less, well, I know myself, I have less willpower when it comes to food, when I know that, because I know that, because my diet is not consistent and often there's carbs available. Like if I had, like, okay, let me try to put this in perspective. If I had all the money I ever needed, right, I could control my willpower. To some extent, I've already been there. I've been, those stints where I was able to do keto, like those stints where I was able to, it's because at the time there was enough money to make it work for the most part. And it was consistent money. And so I was able to make it work. You know, so if I was in a place where I had consistent money, I'd have more willpower. I'd create a list of everything I wanted and needed to get to eat, and I would buy just that stuff. And then I would find a special place like to the side to put the carbs type of stuff. I would find a special place to reserve that for when I break the keto and make different types of meals. But but when it's just kind of like all over the place, like I really can't plan it that way. And my willpower to my cravings is less, you know, whenever the meals are predictably going to be filled with carbs. So if I go over to my mother's and she's got, and I make some food and I need something to go with it, like, and she's got mashed potatoes and green beans like in the cabinet, then and there's times where I buy the meal too. Like I'll go buy, like, for example, if I got a few bucks, I'll go buy the chicken or the hamburger and then go to her house and then use what's in her cabinet, you know, for the sides. And then I make a whole meal, you know, and we share it with everybody. And so, like, if my mother has a cookie laying around or a box of cookies or something like that, or sweets or candies or something like that, I'm just gonna, you know, maybe I don't got an excuse for that, but oh well. I mean, it is what it is for now. I'm really not sweating that too bad, you know. It just is what it is, and just another thing that I gotta, you know, work on myself. But yeah, in some kind of way, keto is fun because it's just, I mean, there's a healthy challenge to it and a focus, you know. And I'll go ahead and get off of here. But I was going to say, like, I maybe the technology for keto has changed since the last time I've done it. But a lot of the things were hard to to make, because I just didn't have recipes. I didn't have, and even then I was still limited on money, so I couldn't make everything I idealistically wanted to. But back then, I just had that limitation. But and I'm sure by now, today, I'm pretty sure there's a lot more new recipes, new options, new ways of doing things, and anyways, I look forward to when I can do it again. I think my current lifestyle limits me, as I said, to doing that more than it does give me the ability to do that, because it does take a lot of time. Oh yeah, one more thing. I did make this soup where I take chicken breasts and and I cook them and put them into a stew, and I use water and the chicken, mushrooms, cabbage, and I can't remember what else. Like if you're just doing low carb, you can add tomatoes, but I didn't even add tomatoes. I was mostly doing as low carb as possible, but yeah, that's a stew I made. I'm trying to think of what else I put in it. But salt, pepper, chicken, mushrooms, and cabbage, and eggs. Like, I would, mix some eggs and drop them in, kind of like they do egg drop soup. And so that would become filling and satisfying, because it was like a large chunk of food, and I was able to make a big batch of that and be able to take it to work, and I'd virtually be eating the same thing every day. And even when I wasn't completely on like keto specific, or even then, like when I was working at that paint store. Well, I think that was during one of my stints. Like, I would even go get chicken salad. Like I said, I wasn't too concerned about being zero carb, but even then, I would still check the chicken salad, and I'd try to go as low as possible. But I'd buy like a tub of chicken salad, and I'd buy romaine lettuce leaves, and so I was going kind of like low carb, I guess you could say then. And I'd buy those romaine lettuce leaves, and I'd wrap my chicken salad in it and put a little tiny bit of ranch dressing. That would be my lunch. And my warehouse manager would jokingly say, "So, Billy, what you having today? Let me guess. Lettuce with chicken wrapped in it." And I'd be like, "Yep." So I'd eat this. I do a lot of things like that are predictable, because it clears my head. But anyways, that's all I got to say about it. I'm going to get off here.